Beanie Babies. These stuffed animals took the 1990s by absolute storm, becoming a cultural phenomenon. It was mostly in America, a little bit in the UK, but mostly America because, oh, say, can you see? These bears were once worth a metric buttload of money. But if you find one in your toy box now and you get all excited like, oh my god, I'm rich, it's gonna be worth so much money, you're wrong. And let me tell you why you're wrong. Because the stock price of these things absolutely crashed. And you'll be lucky if the one you found is worth $20 and a smooth fart. It all starts in 1986 when toy maker Ty Warner decided to start his own toy company, aptly named Ty Toys, in a small town just outside of Chicago. His first creation was a life-size cat loosely stuffed with beans, and his way of selling it was to lead people to believe it was a real cat until they were completely convinced, and then he would show them that it wasn't in fact a real cat and it was just a stuffed animal.
He would walk in holding this cat in his arms, and when people thought it was real, then he knew he had done what he had hoped to do.
He introduced his first run of 9 Beanie Babies in 1993. It took about 3 years for the ball to get rolling, but once it started rolling, it did not stop. And with a solid marketing strategy of stopping production of certain Beanie Babies in order to see their prices go up, they quickly captured the hearts and minds of adults and children alike. Why? Because it was the 90s. According to one person being interviewed, Beanie Babies were more than just a toy. They were a way to express yourself and find people that shared the same passions as you. People formed communities, they traded their treasures, and this just added fuel to the fire, and it just kept going and going and going. Ty Warner was an absolute master of creating scarcity. He would boost production of certain beanies for an extended period of time, and when they stopped selling, he would announce that he was pulling them from the shelves, thus making them rare, and people would go to the ends of the earth to find these stuffed little things. He even brought in writers to create backstories and write poems. He gave these creatures birthdays, and that point of difference led people to spend obscene amounts of money on these things.
As I sail through the ocean blue, I'll run across a friend or two. My birthday is March 5th.
People were going to amazing lengths to get their hands on the most sought-after Beanie Babies. In the back of their mind, this is their child's college fund, this is their nest egg, this is their deposit on a house. In the 90s, it was an incredible way to save for the future. People often spoke in interviews and said they remember camping outside of stores, trying to get the latest release before anyone else would get it, just in case these beanies were never seen again. By the mid-90s, the Beanie Baby frenzy was at an incredible peak. There were conventions. People went to go and buy, sell, and swap their Beanie Babies. They wanted to further their collection as best they could. The whole world was gripped by this. Even McDonald's wanted in on the action. In 1997, Ty Warner secured a deal with Macca's that would see the introduction of teeny Beanie Babies, which was a tiny pocket-sized version of the toy. They made and sent out 81 million units of teeny Beanie Babies. These were supposed to last 8 weeks. Collectors absolutely ravaged supply, and it was gone in the first week. It's during this peak that the most 90s thing I've ever seen happened. In a divorce settlement between husband and wife, they had to take their $5,000 collection of Beanie Babies, put it on the floor in a Nevada courtroom, and sort it out one by one. Like literal children. That it's honestly amazing to me. By this stage, Beanie Babies were more than just toys. They were currency. People were giving them as really high-profile gifts. You would have them on display as status symbols. People would even have parties just to exchange them. In 1998, Major League Baseball got involved in this craze. They created mascot-themed Beanie Babies that were exclusively given out at games, but this saw the Major League Baseball ticket sales rise by 25%. People were going to baseball games or even just buying the ticket just so they could get the Beanie Baby. By the end of 1998, Ty Inc.'s sales surpassed $1.4 billion. For 1998, that is insane numbers. Ty himself ended up in Forbes magazine. He had his own exclusive. Ty Warner himself was on top of the world, but all good things must come to an end. By the late 90s, you could start to see the cracks appearing. The market had become saturated with Beanie Babies, and as the supply increased, the demand started to wane. Kids had already started to turn their attention to things like Pokemon, which were the next big thing in the market. In 1999, Ty Warner went full send. He announced on Millennium Eve, 31st of December 1999, all production of Beanie Babies would screech to a halt. It turned out to be a lie. It was a massive marketing ploy, but it failed real bad. He tried releasing a couple of new lines of the toys in the early 2000s, but it did not take like it did the decade before. One person being interviewed in the early 2000s said that he knew that Beanie Babies had reached their market peak when he would go to the store and the beanies that he had been searching for years and years were available on every store shelf. The beanies he had spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on collecting were now worthless. As the Beanie Baby bubble burst, that was fun to say, as the Beanie Baby bubble burst, the prices plummeted. Many collectors had a huge amount of Beanie Babies. In many cases, people had thousands in display cases with tag protectors, and they were hoping to keep them preserved for when the right buyer came along. But children's attentions were elsewhere and Beanie Babies were out. Toys that were worth as much as $10,000 to $15,000 each in some cases were now cheap toy box insulation. In 2004, Ty Inc. claimed losses of $39 million and saw the sales of Beanie Babies drop by 90%. In 2009, Ty Inc. tried to make a new line of Beanie Babies with redesigned eyes and features to make them a little bit more appealing to a younger audience, but they never reached that same popularity they saw in the mid-90s. The downfall of Beanie Babies can be attributed to several factors, overproduction being one of them. There was always hundreds of different Beanie Babies in the market. Changing consumer taste and the emergence of other collectibles. People were going for cards, handheld consoles, action figures. No one was really interested anymore, and the market simply couldn't sustain the inflated prices. Today, Beanie Babies still hold a huge sentimental value for collectors all over the world. They serve as a remarkable reminder of the era of passion that saw people literally fly from country to country in the hopes that they might find that specific beanie they had been after. Now, I'm not here to hate on the 90s. I was born in the 90s, I'm a product of the 90s. Growing up in New Zealand, we get everything like 10 years after everybody else does. I collect comic books that will probably never appreciate in value, but I'm not collecting them to resell them, I collect them to read them. The difference between things like comics and things like Beanie Babies is that there was such a high expectation that these were going to just increase in value and keep going and keep going. And when it crashed and you're left with hundreds of Beanie Babies around your house, it serves as a reminder that not all investments are smart ones. If you enjoyed this video and you would like me to keep making more pop culture history videos, hit like, hit subscribe, let me know what you reckon in the comments. Go over and follow me on TikTok. I'm over there a lot more than I'm over here. But in any case, I've been BB Malloy. You've been amazing. Peace and have a good day.